Please open up a new program. And please take out the cat and put 2 ball sprites in.
You get those in the vending machine? Do you get those in the vending machine? But you only accept one. What do you have? 5.
That just slowly scoot me down.
Another $2. No, you didn't.
What's expensive?
You finished the world?
I mean, I'm like the second time. All
right. So, guys, I need us to stop talking about the football game. I know somebody was hurt, and that's why you didn't win. Yeah.
No, 66-0.
No, somebody was hurt. You should be on Dallas. So just was hurt. I'm sure it would have been much closer.
66-0.
So I need you to start a new Scratch project. In that Scratch project, I need you to delete the cat and put in 2 balls.
Wait, what did I miss?
I don't know. I wasn't here. I need us to start a new Scratch project, and where the cat is, delete the cat and add 2 sprites that both are the ball sprite. So
Oh, okay. All right.
you did Scratch account.
Is it? Okay.
Scratch.mit.edu. You made an account. Make a new program. And if you can't see from there, will you do me a favor and move to the center? If you can see, that's fine. But if you can't, just move. Now, the other day we learned about motion, and I had you build like a little tutorial to drive those points home. But we learned about motion so we can make them move either with key presses or with just freely moving or by following the mouse. Do you remember that? Yeah. Nice. Today we're going to do collision. And collision can happen with a boundary. Collision can happen with an object. And collision can happen with an obstacle. Those are the 3 we're going to play with. Not that there's not other collision in the world. Now, you notice when you have the 2 balls, let's give them names. Can we please call ball 1, or the one that's just ball, let's call it mover. And the other ball we're going to call breaker. Just so we have constant names. Because if I keep saying ball 1 and ball 2, people are gonna get lost. Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna blow it up. All right. So right down here, you can see. Did you not make an account? Were you not here? Did you do none of the tutorial the other day? I don't know. When you're not here,
Was it,
it was last week
last week?
and Thursday.
I was here Thursday and.
Okay, then how do you not have any scratch stuff? So make an account. Join Scratch.
Big boy.
Use your school account and make yourself old enough.
Okay.
Now,
So the 18th?
I'm clicked on Breaker right now. And this is the only code that I want for Breaker. Breaker's just gonna have this code. Okay? So Breaker's gonna be the ball that we have just sort of moving around. It's gonna do nothing but move. And so I set it at point in direction so it's not always going left to right. So after I do that, then I just tell it to move if on edge bounce. That's all I have for Breaker. Everybody needs that for Breaker. Now, so that ball is going to move around. Use your school name. Don't try to be creative. Don't try to be original. Just use your school name. Let's go.
Okay.
No, your school username. And Nicola, it's going to be NG. There we go. But we know nobody has that one. Because you wouldn't be able to get a Google account if you did. Now, that is one ball. So all I did, so now if you run it, I have one ball moving around the screen. Nice.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Now I'm going to stop it. I'm going to click on Mover. Now in Mover, I have some similar code. And we're actually going to cover a constant problem you guys have so we can fix it. So in Mover,
Wait, I need to copy that.
so if I want to copy code between, take a look. I take the code from one sprite, I drag it into the other, and I let go. I just drag it right on top and let go, and it would be there. Now, you can see here, this code's a little bit different, right? We have our point in direction, yes? We have our move, if on edge bounce, but then we have another if. And I want you to watch the problem when I run it. It says if touching breaker, it's going to wait a second or half a second and switch costume. But do you notice how when I tell it to wait, it stops? Is that what I meant? No, I meant just for it to like wait before it did anything. So here's a really simple thing to do. Watch, I'm going to take it out of there, put it its own,
Wow.
with its own event. Now watch what happens. Now I gotta wait for it to happen. See, now it doesn't stop, but a half second after they touch, it changes color. Because we had the stop and the movement in the same routine. And that doesn't work. Does that make sense? By separating them out into different routines, I'll get you caught up once you have the account. It's easy. I'm just going to share out the project. So, did everybody see what happened when they were one routine again? When I had the delay for changing costume, it also delayed the movement. And so a lot of times we build things with code, we have to understand that since it's linear, everything in the forever was being affected by that delay. We didn't want it to be. So this is collision between a sprite. Does everybody see it? So this is collision between two sprites. And all I did was change the backdrop. Not the backdrop, I mean the costume color. And I could have done something else, but right now that's good. Now, Could everybody please click on their backdrop? It's right over here in the bottom right. Charles, not Charles, Nick. So look what I'm gonna do right here. See this chair? So my username is W Greenwald ME for Maine East 19. In this box right here where it says search, do you see it?
No. Oh, yes, I do.
Type in W Greenwald ME 19. That's the project I'm currently working on. Click on it. Now you see on the right, see where it says see inside? And now you see where it says remix? The green, across. Look at the top where it says scratch,
The top where it says scratch.
on the top left. Now come across. Click that. Now you have the project.
All right.
Now, I'm clicked on the backdrop. So everyone's clicking on the backdrop. I'm going to click on the backdrop, and you can see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag and put a box in the center of ours. Now, do you see, now that I have this box, do you see at the top where it says fill and then outline? If I want no outline, I can just change that to 0. And now there'll be no outline. If I want a different fill color, I can just fill it with a different color. I don't know, some of you are on your ball. I'm not on the ball, I'm on the backdrop. So you see over here where it says stage? I clicked on the stage, and then I clicked on backdrops, and I put a black backdrop into the middle of my screen. Yes? We all see it? I put a little black cube, so I clicked on that, then I clicked right here. And then I went to backdrops, and I draw a square right in the middle. This is paint. I've seen everybody and their mom use paint. Maybe not their mom, but everybody use paint. Now I'm going to go back to it real quick. I'm going to click on it, make it a little smaller.
I can't click on it.
You got to click on the arrow to click on it. Now,
Oh,
so now I'm going to go back to the code, and I'm going to click back on breaker. Now, breaker, every time it hits it, it's just going to go through. So we're good. So now click on mover. Now, do you see this event right here that we have, like if touching? I'm going to right click on it and duplicate it. I could do it all in one forever, but I want to point out they're different. And I'm going to get rid of that sensing statement. So it looks like this. Now I'm going to go back to sensing. And do you see one of the blocks that says touching color? I'm going to drop it in there. But I don't want to be touching green. I'm going to click on the little green palette right there. And do you see the dropper at the bottom?
what's the fact?
And now I can go onto my stage and I can grab that. So when I click in the little color inside the circle here, I can pick the dropper and pick whatever color I want off of my stage. Now when it touches black, we're going to have it flip around. So I'm going to have it turn 180 degrees. So now that's a collision with a color, as opposed, and an obstacle. You see what I mean? So we have boundary, we have color, object, obstacle. And I made the obstacle black. So it's right there in the middle. And I could then, and you can see I can make it so some of the one ball goes right through while the other ball bounces off it.
Okay.
So far, so good? Nice, so, got our object.
That's
So now what I want to do is I want to talk about how do I manage my boundaries. Could everybody please click on choose a backdrop? See at the bottom there? You see at the bottom here where it says choose a backdrop? Click on it and go all the way to the bottom and the third one over. And now I'm going to click on my stage and I'm going to delete the blank one. With the black X on it. But I am going to put another one on there. Right in the center.
Okay.
So it's going to look like that. Now the reason I wanted this one is I want to control boundaries. Because right now we're controlling boundaries by edges. How many edges are there? Thank you. There are 4 edges. Put some confidence next time, okay? There are 4. It's a box. The problem is we don't know which. If I said it bounced off the edge, you don't know which edge, right? And you ever play a game where some edges matter more than others? You're playing a game with a bottom. The bottom edge matters. It might bounce off the left and the right, but it goes off the bottom edge, you lose, right? So we need edge management. Every good program has edge management. I'll go back to Fortnite. I know you guys don't all play Fortnite, but Fortnite has a constant edge called the storm. And if you're outside the storm, you're constantly having bad things happen to you. You're losing health. Well, when you're inside it, you're fine. So the edge management is very important. So what I want to do is I want to write some code to manage the edge. So let's do that. Let's go to mover. Let's go to code. So right now we have code for movement, code for touching the other sprite, code for touching a color. My son has made it home. Sorry, it's off now. Now I want to do code for, so I'm going to go to events, and it's a green flag event. Now I'm going to grab a forever. And I'm going to grab 2 if statements. I'm only going to evaluate the top and the left. So I'm going to grab it. No, I'm not. I'm going to grab a less than and a greater than. Now, do you see here as X and Y? If you guys now click on motion, stop playing the game. If you click on motion, you go down, you can see that we can evaluate our X position and we can evaluate our Y position. And if we can say if X is less than negative 220, we're going to hide. I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to where's the word hide? There it is. Hide. And I'm going to wait 1 second. I'm really only going to wait 1.1 second. And then I'm going to show again. It's going to look like that. And this is evaluating this area right here. Negative 220 and less. So if the X position of the ball traveling across is less than negative 220. I can also say if the Y position is greater than 170, I could tell it on motion to go to y of negative 170, and I could tell it to stay on its current x position. So think about this. The ball is right here. It's going up here. When it shows back up again, it will show up down here. That's just where it will go to. So let's run and see what happens. Whoop, that didn't happen. If y position is greater than, go to my current x and my y of 170. Well, maybe it's 150. And you see the little gold ball here? Every time it gets up there, it disappears and comes back. And what's funny is every time it's over on this side, it hides for 0.1 second and disappears. So all I'm doing here is evaluating places on the screen. And I know you guys just put this in here, but make it constant. I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to tell it to go to the y position. And positive 240x. Well, what I'm doing is, now anytime this ball here is here, it's going to stay on its y, but it's going to go over here. So now that's managing boundaries. And for example's sake, this would be a horrible game to play, but it worked for the example. But if you were playing a game where boundaries mattered, you would reset your position after you lose a life. You ever play Miss Pac-Man?
Yeah.
She always starts in the same spot, right? Correct?
Yeah.
In Miss Pac-Man. Because every time it restarts, it goes back to that spot. That's the other thing you could do, is you could tell it to always go to a certain spot. But what we've done here is we've created a collision with 3 obstacles. Now, what I'd like everybody to do, if everybody would please go to File, hit Save Now, and then go to File and Save as a copy. And we're going to make a new project called Collision with Variable. And I'm going to throw away the touching black. And I'm going to throw away the position. No, I'm not. I'm going to keep it. But I'm going to throw some of the code away. Now, if everybody has this program basically. It's going through the black in the middle. I'm going to throw that away too. That's not going to happen anymore. So basically it moves, and when they collide, it changes costume. Now, could everybody please click on a variable? We're going to make a variable, not a list. We're going to make a variable. And we're going to call it score. And we're going to make it for all sprites. We're givers.
How did you make the variable?
Okay, so we have our variable called score. Now, at the very beginning of the program, if we have a variable, we need to set its value. So I'm going to set it to 0. But every time it's touching breaker, I'm going to change that variable by 1. So now what you'll notice is when they collide together, oh, not my variable, score. I'm going to change score by 1. I'm also going to tell it anytime it collides to go to minus 200 and 150. That way they get off of each other. Okay, so, and you can see it just counts and it counts and it counts. But here's what's really nice about a variable. Is so I'm going to grab another green flag, and I can evaluate a variable. So I'm going to go to control, I'll grab a forever, I'm going to grab an if. And I can evaluate, I can say if score, grab my score variable, equals 20, say, great game, for 2 seconds, and then I can go to control and I can stop the whole thing, I can end the game. But I could also do this with lives, right? I could count down with lives, and if they equal 0, I could do this. Maya, are you looking for one of the backups still?
Yeah.
It's the very bottom, third in from the end. So all we're doing here, just so you know, is I just want to highlight that we can use a variable to evaluate as well. So just like we evaluated collision by color, boundary, or object, we can also evaluate a variable and make things happen. So one last thing before I set you loose. Please go to variables, make a variable called lives. We made it for all, and click on breaker. At the beginning, we're going to set lives to 5. Now, every time breaker touches the other ball, so for the whole program, every time breaker is sensing, touching, mover, gonna lose a life. Change lives by -1. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do something called an embedded if. Inside this, we're going to say if lives equals 0, say breaker wins. And then we'll end the whole game. So now these notes are basically just notes for collision. What? Yeah, breaker's never going to lose. Because you're never going to get to 20 points before you lose 5 lives. No, I know. I feel bad for breaker though. I mean, he doesn't have any fun. He just drives around and runs into a ball. Okay, so now everybody go to File, Save Now, File, New. So we're going to prep for Thursday. That's the next time I see you. On Thursday, you're going to take what we know about movement, about boundary and collision, and you're going to make a maze. And you're going to make 5 levels, and the maze is going to get harder and harder as it goes. Now, if you did not get the code for the last 2 projects, if you did not get the code for the last few projects, what you're going to do is you're going to search my user. Because both of those projects, that's yours, sir. Both of those projects are now shared, and my username is W Greenwald, ME for Maine East, 19 for the year. And when you search for my projects, they should pop up because they're both shared now. So if you missed today's work because I was going too quickly, which definitely happens, you have access to it. You can add to yours, or what you can do is you can open it and remix it and make it yours. Now, in this new one that we made that's called Untitled, please call it Maze. Oh, I gotta give you back your control. I apologize about that. Stop. Please call it Maze.
Amazing.
And then on your backdrop, please click on the backdrop so we can edit it. Now, do you see at the bottom where it says convert to bitmap?
Oh,
If yours says convert to vector, please do. We want to make sure we're in vector mode. And I'm going to leave it purple, but I'm going to set this to 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some obstacles for a maze. Yay, it's a maze.
it's amazing.
It's amazing, I like that. It's not, but I appreciate it.
My corners are just crazy.
Now, I also am going to change the fill color to, let's say, yellow, and I'm going to make a circle right there. And then I'm going to change the fill color to red, to like purple, and I'll make a fill color right there. You see they both turned by accident. So I'm going to pick my paint can up, go back to my yellow, and now I have a yellow, a red, and some purple. Purple are my obstacles. The yellow is always going to be my start point, and the red's always going to be where my maze ends. Now, once I'm happy with one of these, what I can do is, this is my easy level. I can then right-click on it, duplicate it, and I can make one that's much harder. But I never want to make anything the color red, because red's always going to move me to my next screen. And I never want to make anything that's yellow, because that's going to be my start spot. So I'm going to keep my obstacles purple. Uh-oh. And now what I can do is I can draw some more obstacles in.
I'm gonna draw a triangle.
You can get crazy. Yeah, because you can grab this, and then you can, like, you know, make like a...
Well, I said a line.
Ooh. Wait, we can make our own, right?
So I'd like you to make, and you can delete the cat, we don't need the cat. I'd like you to make 5 levels, each one a little more harder than the next. So when we come in on Thursday, I can cover a couple things, and then you guys can make your own mazes. And we can make a game out of it. So please, you got about 15 minutes to make 5 interesting levels.
How do you clone the background?
How do you clone a backdrop?
Yeah, how do you?
Right click on it and duplicate.
I might go to David Club or race to there's a lot more people. Oh, you
I know I looked through that. Hey. You see that?
Oh, okay.
So, sort of where this will go to, I'm gonna see your screens real quick. So when we're making this, when you're making this tomorrow or on Thursday, you're gonna have 5 screens, and you can see here, like I made the letter X, and I set them to go to the screen. So when I play, see right now I'm on backdrop 2. One thing I need to remember to do is I need to switch when I start to backdrop. About other names. Backdrop 1, backdrop 2. And in code, I can tell it to go to backdrop. Well, that's because that's a costume. Switch to backdrop 1. So now you can see it when I start, it goes that one and that went away. Now, I don't have any key press in right now, but as soon as I get to green, I can go here, I go back up there, and this shows up. On my X, I'm going to need to add key press, which we did in an earlier program. Remember? So you can actually go to that earlier program. I go to that earlier program, I go to moving. And you can see right here that I have it. So you see this thing called a backpack in the bottom? I can drag that into there. I can save now and go back to my other project. You can see inside. And now I can drag it out. Now I don't need all of this. I don't need to set my size to 300. I'm not trying to cheat. But now when I run it, and anytime I touch purple, I go back.
Oh, okay.
But if I get there, I'm on the next one. Anytime I touch that bat, I go back. I always make it so I can cheat. And we're going to add 3 variables. You're going to add lives, score, and one other variable of your choosing. And you're just going to make an engaging game based on the 3 things we know how to do now. Move and collide and variables. But you actually can make a very engaging maze game with very little knowledge. Potentially. Now I will share out the move code as well, because I know that some of you were not here. I'm going to hit save now. I'm going to click move. I'll go to my moving. And I'm going to share this out. Then you have all of our notes from the other day. You guys are welcome to continue to make your backdrops. How many of you have 5 backdrops made? One of the ways you make them more complicated is by adding content per backdrop. Like you can see in the back here, I say if backdrop equals 1, hide. If backdrop equals 2, show. But I can also set like a velocity variable for it. But I'll let you be creative on your own. I just want to show you a sample. I also wanted to point out that I built it while you guys were working. It's not super complicated. I didn't go to like an old project that a kid did. I literally built it while you were building backdrops. Does anybody need help building backdrops? Okay, so I'll assume that by, do you need help building that? I'll be right there. Everybody else, I'm hoping that you'll have 5 done by Thursday.
Yeah. Oh,
Pardon?